Let's move to Joe. What do you think of this? What kind of areas are really the places that you're looking at generative AI for?
One is to enhance the employee experience.
Hmm.
So we found a way to reduce the hallucination. And basically, we put a search in front of, in between ChatGPT, and ChatGPT would prompt the search. So the employee experience is much better where they can ask questions from our different repositories.
Hmm.
The only challenge there is the OpenAI um, token-based approach. The way Microsoft charges it became cost prohibitive. But we basically, if the search doesn't find anything, then ChatGPT has zero opportunity to hallucinate. And that worked really well. But it's cost prohibitive. So now we're trying to figure out, okay, how can we do this ourselves? But then that becomes a science experiment. We have deployed Microsoft Copilot across the organization.
Hmm.
So this is where users can use Copilot instead of OpenAI's $20 a month. That way the information is protected. But we
Hmm.
find that very subpar compared to what OpenAI's own own document uploads. You can basically have it summarize the document very quickly, and Copilot doesn't do that. So even though we have it rolled out, it's kind of, in my opinion, doesn't have the feature set to compete with OpenAI. From a
Hmm.
customer service point of view, we, as the gentleman before me said, we don't- we put we using Einstein GPT
Hmm.
to come up with the next best action. Um, and from a testing perspective, I think all of these models won't understand context really well unless if it's medical or law.
Hmm.
Um, and our products have bugs that have new bugs every day. So if you're going to train it on old bugs, it's not going to predict the new bugs. So
Hmm.
I don't have much uh, faith in anybody who can come and say, look, you can displace your customer service agents. I think that's not going to happen. I think it's still cheaper to deploy in, jails that, use real brains. So I'm not a fan of customer service bots and that kind of stuff. We also have action bots, our own product, where, you can ask it question to do things. And it's kind of interesting. My next best action is, can I replace paralegals, right? Unless you replace humans, this stuff is not cheap and it's very hard to get ROI. We have measured the ROI for GitHub Copilot.
Hmm.
Um, the, the employees are happy. Now, does it mean I'm going to hire less programmers? Absolutely not.
Hmm.
So it's an interesting thing where if you're not using AI, you're not going to be a good employee. But
Right.
if you are using AI, you're not displacing anybody. Um, we're not seeing that, okay, I'm going to hire less people, right? It's like saying, now we have this new calculator, so can I hire less accountants? And now we're not, and that's going to frustrate management at some point because the bill is not cheap.
Right.
Um, anyway.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I like that. I like the way you put that. It's, we have better calculators, but it's not going to replace our accountants. That's kind of a good analogy here. So you're seeing it as extending capabilities rather than replacing bodies in the organization so far.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
great. Natasha, anything to add here in your organization that you're using it for?
Yes, I would agree with the last sentiment in terms of using AI along with humans.
Hmm.
And I also would like to provide some examples of use cases
Sure.
which we use Gen AI for, like, for example, to create first drafts of marketing creatives.
Mm.
Another use case is chatbots to respond to certain customer queries for retail insurance.
Yeah.
Then we also use large language models for complaints identification, classification, and summarization, improved customer experience with conversational AI.
Mm.
Then we also use AI to query the underwriting guides and increase efficiency in that. We successfully rolled out AI to call centers as well to help the agents to answer the questions of the customers much quicker and more efficiently and increase customer satisfaction. And there are multiple others as well, similar speech to text and then summarization using a large language model, call summarization, automated pathways for health customers, use of imagery, etc., to actually make pricing more specific. So there are multiple use cases, but again, it's human and AI rather than one versus another. Though I know that in some financial institutions, there are conversations of using AI against AI from the security perspective, but we are not in that space.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, so perhaps maybe this is an adolescent period where it's still generative AI plus humans, or maybe this is how it's always going to be. Well, I guess time will tell. Cars replaced horses. They didn't really, right? Horses are still around, but they just have different roles. So we'll see how this turns out. Glenn, any final words here on kind of use cases that you've got going on in your organization?
No, I believe so, Natasha. Between Natasha and Joe was really quite summarized everything that we are doing in our space. I just only want to mention one point here. Since this technology continue maturing, and of course, many of that we are talking about here, we are in a heavily regulated industries. So the part of the governance piece and how we can go and control is one of the biggest concerns. As Bill mentioned, for example, the challenge around hallucination and how you can reduce hallucination, because you cannot actually provide wrong answers to your customers because can create liability. That's one of the biggest focus. But we are actually tested out in different dimensions between all these different angles around code generation, customer support, writing content or creating content, voice to text, text to voice, all those kind of things. But it's still in the phases that is not from a replacement perspective, from a human being perspective, is more how we can augment their capabilities, how we can actually provide more efficient work, but it's not from a replacement point of view.